Thank you for joining me, Luke. Can you please let people know what I Am Compliant does and offers the education sector, please?
Absolutely, yes. Thank you for having me on as well, James. So I Am Compliant is a platform for schools to manage their statutory compliance and estates management. So we essentially tell schools what they need to do, when to do it, how to do it, why they're doing it, in terms of their statutory compliance. But it's kind of grown from there in the sense that we've also kind of merged with a training company, because a large part of compliance is all around changing behaviour, and to do that, we thought the best way of doing it is to actually bring on a team of people that actually know what they're doing in that space. So that we merged with a company where the lead guy from that is he used to be the global VP of content for SAP, learning content for SAP. So and his sort of partner in crime as such is used to be an account director for DreamWorks. So between them, they make this like really fun animated content. It's really, really easy to understand, and it kind of, alongside our platform that basically keeps schools compliant, they've also got the knowledge to be able to understand why they're doing what they should be doing and how to go about doing it. So all of our content is IOSH approved as well, and our compliant tool, like I said, has sort of morphed into a bit more around document management, risk management as well. But essentially, the core aspect of it has always been statutory compliance, which is my background, because my FM background, I used to own an FM company that I exited in 2014 and set up IM in 2016.
So we'll jump right in with the first question, which has been left by Mark Dolling from eEnergy. Mark asks, there's a challenge with facilities management at the moment, particularly around compliance, as PFI schools advance over the next 3 or 4 years. We will start to see PFI schools handed back, and in many cases, these schools have not really had a leading role in compliance or managing their existing estate, say up to 25 years. So I'd like to ask Luke what advice he has for these schools and what are the key aspects schools should consider when taking back ownership and management of these facilities.
What I would say is, with my facilities management hat on, is when you take over a building and take back a building, you really need to do extensive kind of criticality surveys of everything that is working, because there are going to be a number of different people that would have been working on those assets, and sometimes, I'm not saying it happens all the time, but sometimes there's a lot of cost cutting and cutting corners. And so a really, really, really extensive asset survey and beyond what a condition condition data survey type of report will give you, you really need to understand how well those assets have been maintained. Once you've got that information and you've got a plan together, the plan needs to be implemented. And the other thing that I would say and suggest that schools would do is really go to town on training the people that are going to be delivering the maintenance of those assets and delivering on the maintenance of that site, because there is a massive skills shortage at the moment in the education sector, and it needs to be addressed sooner rather than later. And a good place to start is with the PFI schools being handed back, and actually, because they've been spending a lot of money up to now, perhaps they might want to put aside a budget for the site teams to be able to understand a lot more about that wonderful asset they have got, because it is only given 20, 25 years old, whereas there are about 60% of schools that are over 50 years old. And actually, you've got a wonderful asset there, and actually having the right people doing the right things in that school is going to be essential to obviously make sure that it all ticks over nicely going forward. So those are the things that I would do, and I would make sure that you do that sooner rather than later. If it's going to be handed back in 3, 4, 5 years time, you need to be doing that now, because there's going to be a lot of problems going to and fro with the contractors when they're actually leaving the site and wrapping the site up. So that's what I would do.
Okay, thank you, Mark, for that question. Also, thank you for that answer. So on to my next question, which is, so what are the biggest challenges school estates face going forward?
There's a massive skills shortage, certainly in estates managers. Understandably, that's why, because obviously when you fund a school, generally, I mean, me in my role, I do speak to a lot of school head teachers and business managers that are doing the role of a site manager as well. That's not most of the time they do have a site manager in place, but there is a massive skills shortage. And when you think that the Department for Education's third highest risk on the risk register is dilapidating buildings, then you really need to start thinking about the people that are running those buildings, because it's quite a critical moment in history, I suppose, with all that's gone on with schools over the last 50 odd years, etc., with all the different things that you need to obviously go and put in with DDA compliance and new IT infrastructure and health and safety regulations, class size expenses, all that kind of stuff has meant that schools have had to be sort of bent and shaped in accordance with just to sort of try and make it everything fit. But actually, the people that are on the ground on the day to day are the ones that have to carry the can. They're often the ones that go in there and kind of fixing problems, fixing behavioural damage. They pick up the rubbish, the sort of vandalism, and there's generally not enough time to be able to do the sort of compliance side of things. So I do think the Department of Education need to launch some sort of national qualification for estates managers. And I actually think that maybe in some capacity, and I'm thinking about this in my own business as well, is how we can get the private sector to fund that as well. So I do think there is a massive need for schools to get their site teams educated and get their site teams skilled up to do this stuff, because there's not enough hours in the day for them, sadly.
Okay. And if you could change one thing in the education sector, what would it be?
I think going back to that same point as well, is the appreciation of what more the sort of senior leadership team or consider the estates team to do. I mean, one of the things that I did a talk on last year. I sort of did a series of sort of events. I did a talk on last year was around how if you had sort of utopia of facilities, and it would be sort of Las Vegas with a casino where you get drawn in and there's like the lighting in there, the heat is at the right temperature to keep you gambling, etc. But if you transfer that into a school, and if you just say, right, the sort of the three main ones, heat, light, and air quality, they're the three things that they are scientifically proven to impact on pupil attainment. So for example, I mean, just picking on the light one, because everybody knows this, because if you change light bulbs or lamps, you can reduce your energy costs. So if you go back to the old fluorescent tubes, they're all sort of 40, 50, 60 watt. You can get them down to like 7 watt now. So a lot of people do that just to replace them. But actually, there's a second tier to that, because there was a study in Germany in 2012 where they basically had 2 classrooms that were fitted, one with these sort of biologically optimized lighting. So if you see the color, it's sort of a bright, brilliant white rather than this sort of like dull, yellowy sort of white you get from fluorescent fittings. And at the end of that study, which was a year, they had 2 classrooms, and the improved lighting basically had results showing cognitive performance had improved. It had a third less errors as well on tests and exams from the classroom that had this lighting, and the circadian rhythm. So basically the kind of the social jet lag of little Johnny turning up in the morning to come and do a day's schooling. He was a lot more alert at 9 o'clock in the morning in the new lighting classroom than he was in the other classroom. So there's scientific reasons why pupil attainment can be achieved by improving the estate that you've got, just by retrofitting some of these sort of easy, quick wins, really. And I just think that there needs to be a bit more appreciation around, again, senior leadership team with like a head teacher. Sometimes I go to events and head teachers don't want to know what we do. It's more the sort of the business manager. But actually, when you can actually evidence that it's the pupil attainment side of things, you get better results, then they might want to have a bit more of a conversation. So if I could change one thing, it would just be basically getting people to understand a bit more about how valuable it is to have a good estate strategy in place.
And kind of, I guess, leading on from that until we'll speak about what you're going to be doing at Education Estates in a minute. But so, what quick wins can schools do now to get the biggest impact on their estate? I know you've probably covered a lot of that already, but is there any sort of quick wins they can do?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I sort of mentioned the lighting that you can change the heating quality and that sort of thing, and the air quality. But ultimately, it's about embracing tech as well. I mean, the amount of schools that everybody says they don't have enough time, but the amount of schools that I speak to that don't also embrace the tech that's available to them. So just as an example, you've got I don't know if it's self-promotion here, but our system has the ability for you to be able to track your asbestos. And one of our schools had one of the dreaded asbestos knocks on the door for the HSE and said, I need to come and inspect your asbestos, please. So generally, the schools will sort of mark out about a day for this. Well, the inspector came in because they had access to all of the monthly checks available on one click of a button, the annual management plan and all the review documents that went with that as well, access to all the training records. They were gone in 45 minutes. It was a simple case of in and out, and they basically said that there was a gold standard of a system. That's because it was a tech system that was being used properly in the schools that needed it, obviously, and they were using it for that particular purpose. One of the purposes they were using it for. Obviously, the rest of the stuff they had, if somebody came and did audits on other sort of statutory compliance areas, it would be as simple as that as well, just to sort of click of a button and see all the results and all the audit trails, etc. But also things like risk management. Schools love using paper, that they have to print documents out and give them to the trustees and the audit committees and what have you. But ultimately, if you can have an IT system, you can be a bit more, you can interrogate it a bit more. I'm not going to say in your own time, but when you've got a window of time, rather than just sort of seeing in that hour that you've got with that meeting, if you can actually know what you're talking about before you go into the meeting, because you've actually looked in a bit more detail, because you've got something live and it's on your phone or it's on your computer, you're going to do it. It's just a lot easier to obviously go, and you can have better conversations as well. So I just think that embrace technology a lot more. I mean, they are doing it since COVID, but it's kind of almost gone up. But I just sort of feel it's gone a bit down again a bit before potentially go back up again. I just think that they need to. They just love paper too much. So I just think that schools just need to obviously embrace tech a bit more. So that's a quick win, because it's there for them, and they've all got access to it. So,
and talking about tech, what's your favourite gadget?
So my favourite gadget is probably my my Amazon Alexa that I've got in my kitchen. So I'm a massive cooking fan. I love to be a chef I wouldn't have sort of like cook for many other people other than my family, because they might all be sick. But essentially, I love to cook. But I've got my kitchen, and I've got my Alexa there, and you could sort of tell it to set a time clock for whatever time. If I've got something going on in the George Foreman, and I've got something going on in the oven, I need to time it. But also, when you're sat there and you've got the TV, because I've got a small TV in the kitchen as well, I've got the TV that can control the Alexa control the TV, and also I've got a balcony in my kitchen, so you just walk out, and me and the wife sit out there on the evenings, and it's certainly on a nice summer's day, and you can just sort of tell Alexa to go and turn the lights on and off. So I really love my Amazon Alexa at this moment in time.
And in terms of thinking ahead and fast forwarding to where we'll be in October at Education States, what will you be showcasing on your stand at the event, and why should attendees pop by and say hello to you and the team?
I'd like to say I've got a secret plan to sort of reveal at Education States, actually, but I won't reveal too. I'll sort of give you a sort of brief overview. We actually won some money from Innovate UK to build a sustainability tool for schools, and as part of our sort of service offering. So what we did with what we've done for the last year is start to build that, and it's a really good way that schools can manage their carbon action plans. Really simply, just basically manage everything they need to do that schools have been asked to do by the Department for Education for 2025 and onwards. So if you want to come over and see us, we can give you a sort of a whistle-stop tour of our wonderful tool in its prototype form, because we've been doing prototype testing actually with our current schools. In the last 6 weeks, we've been sort of allowing schools to have a play around with like I said, the prototype we built, and they've absolutely loved it. So it will be a lot more built out by October, and if any school wants to come over and see how they can really simply and easily manage their sustainability obligations going forward from 2025 onwards, come and see us at Education States, where we will do an official launch there.
Visit them on stand 517 on the main aisle near the delegate catering area in the middle, and pop by and see the team. So on to my last question. Where's your favourite place in the world to relax, unwind and switch off from your busy role as a CEO?
My favourite place in the world, I mean, there's probably a few places in the world I just love going away with my family. So it's wherever they are. So what I'll probably say is where we're going this year. So we're going to go off to Rome, and we're going to go and have some fun in Rome and go and see some sights. But we're also going to see Coldplay when we get there, and then we're going to jump into a sort of a Winnebago type of thing, and then we're going to drive up to Paris, stop at a few places on the way, drive up to Paris for the Olympics, because my daughter is an absolute gymnast fanatic. So we need to go and see Simone Biles before she retires. So as long as I'm with my family, I'm a very happy boy. So that's where I like to relax.
And thank you for sharing that. And also thank you to you and your team for all the support you give us as they do pop by and see Luke and his team on their stand 517 at Education States. And we look forward to seeing you in October, Luke.
Thank you very much, James. Look forward to seeing you too. Thank you very much.